is championship night from here at Berlin Raceway in the town of Marne, Michigan, where the 2016 season of the AST Voltson Super Trucks is soon to come to a close with the running of the Voltson Marne 100. And we could hardly have a more exciting championship scenario on our hands here. 8 of the 19 drivers who have attempted every race are mathematically eligible for the title, but only one of them will go home with the trophy at the end of the night, and as to who that driver will be is anyone's guess. 2 of these 8 drivers are locked onto the front row in Hunter Blaze and Daryl Quick. Blaze enters this race 8th in the standings and is the least likely championship candidate, although he's doing himself a big favor by getting himself the 5 bonus points from getting the pole. Daryl Quick, starting on the outside of the front row, is the points leader and the 2-time defending series champion, and seeing as he won this race last year, he is most certainly the biggest threat for the title, without a doubt. But remember that Quick did not enter the finale with the points lead in either of his 2 championship seasons, and also considering the fact that races here have historically been very unpredictable, we can't count anyone out in the race for the championship until the checkered flag falls at the end of the night. Before we can present the feature, however, we will first bring you the 2 heat races, in which the remaining 29 drivers will be narrowed down to the 19 who will make up starting positions 3 through 21 in the race. The 6 championship contenders in these heats will be locked in regardless of where they finish, and the drivers who would have started at the back of the field for the feature will be bumped out accordingly should this occur. We begin with heat number 1, where John Bennett will lead the field to the start, 15 trucks taking the green flag in this first heat race. Bennett, the 3rd fastest qualifier in time trials, is also 3rd in the standings, and right behind him is Kevin Thompson, who is 5th. Riley Durbin, though, who started on the outside of the front row, is going to get a fantastic run through turn 1, and there's a crash in the opening lap. That's Michael McKinley spinning up the track in turn 3 and taking multiple cars into the wall. McKinley, one of the other championship contenders, he's 4th in points, and he's going to get turned by 2nd in points Brian Kelly down the backstretch and back up into traffic. Nancy Keith and Adam Ramirez both get taken into the wall through no fault of their own. That was very unlike Brian Kelly to just turn the 99M like that, and especially on the first lap of the heat. We're on board the 6 right now, and he does not make much effort to lay off the 99M. All 4 drivers will be able to continue, but they are behind early on, and for Ramirez and Keith, they are not locked into the race, so this is especially bad for them. Riley Durbin leads to the restart and gets a fantastic jump over Kevin Thompson, who beat Bennett back to the line to take over the 2nd position. It was a very poor restart for the 90 truck, but in the next few laps he is slowly going to start to pull away from Bennett and assure his spot in the 2nd position. Bennett settling into 3rd with Nick Moss right behind him, and Legend Hart is currently rounding up the top 5. These drivers are looking to get themselves some very good starting positions for the feature, but further towards the back, it's a race for survival just to make the feature. Brian Kelly is trying to work his way back into the transfer zone and qualify directly, but he's having a hard time doing so, and Michael McKinley is currently battling Nancy Keith for 2nd to last, so McKinley having an even harder time working his way forward. And Riley Durbin, rounding the final corner, is going to take the victory in the heat, and there's a truck upside down in turn 1. Lester McPhail was sitting on his roof in the middle of the racetrack. What on earth happened there? Let's take a look at the replay, and he's going to turn Brian Kelly at the beginning of the final lap, taking them both into the outside wall, and the 404 gently rolls over after the impact. Here's another look at that. The 404 trying to fall back in line behind the 6, it looks like, on corner entry, but he isn't actually clear of him and turns them both into the wall. That's the 2nd time this season that McPhail has gone upside down, and he's going to become the first driver in series history to roll over more than once. Once again, Riley Durbin leads every lap of the heat en route to victory and will start 3rd in the feature. Kevin Thompson finishes in 2nd with John Bennett in 3rd, doing their title hopes some good. Nick Moss finishes 4th with Legend Hart in 5th. Jenny Jackson's in 6th, Alex DeFranco 7th, Brianna Prinzhorn 8th, and Juan Cortez 9th. And John White is the first truck to fail to qualify after what has been a very disappointing season for the 06 team. Adam Ramirez and Nancy Keith with their damaged trucks don't manage to make the race either. And Michael McKinley and Brian Kelly once again will be starting the feature, and they will be bumping out the drivers who would have started 21st and 20th. This means that 9th place in heat number 2 will not be a transfer position, even though it normally would be otherwise. Moving on to heat number 2, where Danella Jacobson will start from the pole after ranking 4th in time trial qualifying. Jacobson has not had the greatest of seasons in the Voltson Super Trucks, but this has been mostly due to some bad luck as opposed to a lack of pace. Through turns 1 and 2, she slides up the track and opens up the door for Samantha Spires to make a move to the inside. And on the outside, Camden Rhodes, using some momentum he's retaining from the high line to try and clear the 57, and Rhodes clears Jacobsen through turn 1 on lap 2, but he hasn't quite cleared Spires yet. There's still 3 wide behind them for second, as Spires and Rhodes do battle for the lead. Rhodes, of course, is another one of the championship contenders. He enters this race a distant 7th in the standings, as he and Spires do battle for the lead. It's a very entertaining start to this race with a fierce battle for the top spot. But not far behind them, there's going to be trouble as Ron Anderson gets spun off the backstretch and headed for the tires. He makes light contact with the barrier. Looking at the replay, it was Jeffrey Jackson in the 500 who got into the back of the 333 and didn't really make much effort to lay off of him, similarly to Michael McKinley in Heat 1. Anderson's race is over on lap number 3. Meanwhile, back at the front, Spires is finally going to clear Rhodes with a good run off at turn 2 and down the backstretch. And on the inside, Archer Helms in the 153 tries to follow her through into second place, but it's not quite going to work. Spires now beginning to open up the lead. The former Fart Truck Series racer came to the series midway through the season with Northeast Racing and has had a couple of good runs. She finished second at Kalamazoo, but she is still looking for her first win. Helms continues to do battle for second with the Operation JM trucks right behind her, with Vigo running in fourth. And whoa, there's a little bit of contact between Vigo and Helms. The 80 turned down into the corner panel on the 153, but they both keep it under control as Helms takes over the third spot. Meanwhile, towards the back of the field, we have the other championship contender in this race, Wilson Timothy, doing battle with Amberly Weiss for the 9th spot, the first spot outside of the transfer zone. Timothy not having a very good heat despite finishing second in this heat last year. And right in front of them, Daniela Jacobsen, Weiss's teammate at Team Michigan, has fallen all the way back to 9th. She's on the verge of missing the event after starting from the pole, which would be a huge shame for the 57 truck. As Danny Vigo tries to take over the third position from Archer Helms, making a much more clean maneuver to the inside, and they make contact, and into turn 1, Vigo gets launched into the catch fence. A horrible crash has brought out the red flag on the 12th lap of the heat. Let's take another look at what happened to the 80 truck, and oh my goodness, he gets turned straight up into the wall and sails into the fence roof first, and the roof has been torn off of the truck. The sheet metal at least. Fortunately, the roll cage is still intact. Onboard Archer Helms as he turns down into the 80 truck on corner entry. Vigo had him cleared, but Helms braked much later, and it's very fortunate that none of the fans in the stands on the outside of the track were injured. We're not sure about the condition of Danny Vigo at this time. We do hope that he's okay, but that was one of the scariest crashes that I have ever seen at this track or in this series. And after a very extensive red flag period, the race is going to restart with Spires still leading over Rhodes. Wilson Timothy restarted from the 9th position, and immediately goes to the inside of Jeffrey Jackson, now working on Amberly Weiss and trying to get Daniela Jacobsen all in the same move seemingly. Timothy has really dropped the hammer and is trying to get himself as best of a starting position as possible for the feature as he clears his third truck in 1 lap. But at the front, Samantha Spires will not face any challenges from Camden Rhodes. She wins the second heat race of the day and earns herself the 4th starting position for the feature race. Zach Churchill finishes in 3rd right behind Rhodes, and Jack Clark, the 2014 pole sitter, finishes in 4th. Ronald Way is in 5th, and Wilson Timothy works up from 9th to 6th in the final few laps. Daniela Jacobsen finishes in 7th with her teammate Amberly Weiss in 8th, and Jeffrey Jackson, even though he technically finished inside the transfer zone, will not start the race. He will be bumped out and replaced by Michael McKinley, who has the Championship Contenders Provisional, and the drivers who will directly fail to qualify include Chase Eberhard, who won 2 weeks ago at Terre Haute Action Track, Chris Washer, the standout in the Dash Cup Aspira Junior Series earlier in the year, a big disappointment for both of those two, and then of course Helms, Vigo, and Anderson all dropped out of the race due to accidents. Vigo would have attained the final starting position due to being the fastest time trial qualifier who did not finish in the top 9 in either heat, but once again he will lose his starting spot to Brian Kelly, and it's not likely that Vigo would have been able to start the race otherwise due to the severity of the damage to the 80 truck. The starting order for the race has now been set, and before we get to it, let's take one last look at the championship standings of our 8 contending drivers. Darrell Quick leads by a mere 12 points over Brian Kelly, the rookie who has yet to win a race this season. while John Bennett, Michael McKinley, Kevin Thompson, and Wilson Timothy are all mathematically eligible to win the title as well, without having to win the race. Camden Rhodes and Hunter Blaze, both of whom are a distant 52 points behind, remember Blaze has already won 5 bonus points for earning the pole, are going to have to rely on a victory as well as poor finishes from their championship rivals. And now we are finally ready to contest the feature race of the weekend from here at Berlin Raceway, the third running of the Voltson Marne 100, to conclude the season and to determine the champion for the 2016 American Short Trackers Voltson Super Trucks. As the 21-truck field takes their final pace lap around the track, being led by the 17-year-old Hunter Blaze. This will be his last race in the series as he's moving up to FARC next year, and I'm sure he wants to leave on the highest note possible. As the pace truck pulls off into the pits, leaving the field in the hands of the 71 truck, the green flag is in the air and we are racing at Berlin. Riley Durbin gets a fantastic start and right out of the gate tries to move to the inside of Blaze to make it 3 wide for the lead. But it's not going to work as Blaze gets the run off the corner, and at the end of the first lap he clears quick for the lead, and the yellow flag is in the air. We have a caution on the first lap of the race, and let's take a look as to why. In the midfield, the 77 of Legend Hart is going to get spun by Jenny Jackson, and coming back up the track he takes Danella Jacobson into the wall, who does a couple of rolls down the corner. Jacobson out of the race right on the start. After having a promising start to the weekend, here's another look at what happened to the 57. Caught with nowhere to go in the corner, being surrounded by trucks on all sides, and she takes a ride down the track. That's the third truck to go upside down this weekend. We've never seen that before in this series, and this cannot be how Jacobson wanted her season to come to a close. But while she goes out of the race, Hart will be able to continue. On the restart, Blaze gets a good jump over Quick and slowly tries to open up a lead over the 82. Blaze will not be able to win the championship as long as Quick is running so far towards the front, even if he is able to win the race, but he has nothing to lose being so far down in the standings, and he's doing everything that he can do to get himself in position to win the title by running up front and leading laps. Alex DeFranco in car number 95 is going to get bumped by his teammate Juan Cortez and spun into turn 3. Both of the Midwest Motors trucks go up into the wall, and that's going to bring out the second caution of the race in a very embarrassing crash for the two teammates there. It's been an absolutely horrible season for trucks 94 and 95, but that smoke and tire marks further up the track was a result of Camden Rhodes being spun up into the wall by the 74 of Nick Moss. Rhodes, one of the other championship contenders, he was on the outside looking in, way down in 7th in the standings, but this is certainly not going to do him any good. All 3 trucks will be able to continue, and Hunter Blaze leads once more on the restart, but we have another championship contender trying to make his presence known, as Wilson Timothy is storming his way to the front after the restart, much in the same fashion that he did during Heat 2. The 61 truck now only 1 spot outside the top 5 as he clears Thompson to take over the 6th position. Right in front of him is the 58 of John Bennett, who was engaged in a battle of his own with Samantha Spires in the 87 for 4th. Bennett, another championship contender, is 3rd in standings entering this race, but is having a hard time getting around the 87 truck. Spires is putting up a great defense. There is a lot of close racing here in the early stages, from 4th on back, as you can see from this shot above turns 1 and 2. Riley Durbin in 3rd has a good gap over the 58, but from then on back, it is a very close freight train formation of trucks. Durbin, who runs in the position where he started, is a competitor in the FARC Smash Beer Low Dollar Series, and has had some good results in his few races in this series despite having yet to win a race. Legend Hart in the 77, running with some damage from the lap 1 crash, is going to get spun again, this time by Ronald Way in the 69 down the front stretch. There's going to be no caution for this as they were all at the back of the field, but Hart, having his race go from bad to worse, will be able to continue on. Hunter Blaze and Daryl Quick continue to pull away from Riley Durbin as this green flag run goes on. Blaze has only been able to keep Quick's truck right behind him, but both of them appear to be handling very smoothly, so it's hard to tell how hard that they're pushing their trucks and their equipment at this stage in the race. Brian Kelly, after starting in last, has not been able to work his way through the field very quickly. He has proven throughout his rookie season that he can work his way through traffic. He did so on multiple occasions to earn himself a few of the good results that he's had, but tonight he's having a harder time at doing so. On the other hand, Michael McKinley, who started at the back with him, is trying to get by Jack Clark at the moment to take over the 7th spot. It's hard to tell how McKinley would have done in his heat because he got wrecked on the first lap, but now that the team has made repairs to his truck, it is evident that he has a very fast piece of equipment underneath him, and whoa, contact with Jack Clark in turn 1. They both keep it under control, but Clark is now on the outside of the racing surface. Let's take another look at what happened. Clark turned down into the 99M on quarter entry and now skating around on the outside of the track, and he's not going to be able to keep it on course into the grass and headed straight for the tire barrier. Jack Clark did a very good job not to wreck that car immediately, but the pavement outside the racing surface there is very rough and very dirty, and once he hit the grass there was no way he was going to stop in time to avoid smashing into the tire barrier. Caution comes out on lap 34 for the third time, and on the restart, McKinley's going to get right back to work, jumping to the inside of Samantha Spires right off the bat. He got a little loose off the corner there, but keeps it in the gas and now tries to get by Wilson Timothy, Jack Clark and Jenny Jackson on the apron there, but they keep it together. And McKinley now trying to get by John Bennett. The 99M is only getting faster seemingly as this race goes on, storming his way to the front, and considering that he won this race 2 years ago, I would be very nervous if I were Darrell Quick and Hunter Blaze. Although John Bennett is putting up a fight to the 99M, trying to hang on to the outside lane. Very impressive for Bennett, who has never raced here before, at least none of the Voltson Super Trucks. But eventually McKinley's going to clear him on the inside. Wilson Timothy and Samantha Spires nearly make it 3 wide on him off the corner, but Spires couldn't quite get the nose of the 87 truck in there. And now Timothy and Bennett do battle for the 5th position. Bennett doing a good job at hanging on to the outside and holding off the 61 for the time being. But coming in to join this battle would be Zach Churchill in the 84 truck, who has been running very quietly for most of the night. It's no secret that Lake Erie Motorsports has been having a very rough season. Churchill has missed 3 races this year, despite having one of the best average finishes of anyone, and a good run to end the year I'm sure would be a nice morale boost to that team. Churchill gets by Spires and now clears the 61 truck, moving himself up into the 6th spot. Hunter Blaze and Darrell Quick are running away from Riley Durbin, much in the same fashion that they did in the previous green flag run. It's hard to tell how hard that Quick is pushing his truck to keep up with Blaze, or perhaps that Blaze is pushing his truck to keep ahead of Quick, because he's going to run wide in turn 4 and nearly hits the wall on corner exit, giving Quick the opportunity to take the lead. But Blaze recovering nicely so far, getting a very good run through turns 1 and 2, and trying to swing back into the lead using the momentum of the high line, and indeed he's going to make it work. Quick falls back in line as Blaze recovers very nicely from that slight mistake of his and retains the lead of the race. Quick now beginning to fall back a little bit, and now he's going to run wide, and he actually does make contact with the wall off the corner. It was very light contact, but it's going to slow him down some more nonetheless, as Blaze now begins to open a lead over the 82 truck, which we haven't really seen tonight. I should also mention that we are now past the halfway point, and Blaze has locked up the 5 bonus points for leading the most laps. Brianna Prinzhorn is doing battle with Amberly Weiss and Juan Cortez at the back of the field. Cortez is damaged from an earlier accident, but Prinzhorn and Weiss have not been having very good runs. It's good that they both made the feature, but unfortunately they haven't been able to do much, although they're keeping their trucks clean at the moment. Just ahead of them are Alex DeFranco, Nick Moss, and Jenny Jackson, and further up the track is Camden Rhodes. These 3 drivers doing battle themselves, Moss and Jackson, putting on a particularly good show. They've been running side by side for quite some time. And a bit further down the track now is Brian Kelly, who is slowly continuing to work his way through the field. I mentioned before that it was apparent that, oh, and that's Wilson Timothy spinning off the backstretch! The 61 truck is in trouble just up the track ahead of Kelly. Let's take a look at what happened to the 61. We're riding on board Ronald Way in the 69, and that was a very avoidable accident. Way running over the 61 truck and turning him around off of turn 2. That's not the first accident that Way has caused tonight. And Timothy spinning off course. He's going to just nick the tire barriers there, inflicting some damage upon his truck, but he will be able to continue on, albeit multiple laps down. He's actually going to catch up to the field right as they take the green flag, and ends up restarting in front of Blaze, the leader. Although it doesn't appear he's going to hold him up, Timothy is still largely on pace. And Blaze, once again, doesn't give Quick any opportunities to make a move on him on the restart, after having to have done that so many times tonight. Michael McKinley getting right back to work, now trying to make a move underneath Riley Durbin for the 3rd spot, Durbin has been holding station in 3rd place all night long, having a fantastic run, and McKinley is not going to have an easy time getting around him, as John Bennett finds himself slowly falling down the order. After the restart, he lost positions to Zach Churchill and Kevin Thompson, and now he loses another one to Ronald Way. Right behind him now is Samantha Spires, who's also been slowly falling back, and now she's going to get spun by Camden Rhodes down the backstretch. She goes hard into the wall in turn 3, bringing out the 5th caution of the race. A big disappointment for Samantha Spires. She was having a very good run, although she had, as I just mentioned, she had fallen down the order a bit. Looking at the aerial shot, Camden Rhodes looked like he was trying to make a move to the inside of the 87 truck, but Nick Moss stuck his nose in there at the last second, and Rhodes couldn't quite go down as far as he wanted. That's what it appears to me, at least. And looking on board, Brian Kelly, who nearly got swept up in that. That was almost the end of Kelly's title hopes right there. His teammate Wilson Timothy is going to get one of his 3 laps back as a result of this caution, and will get put on the inside of the leaders once again for the restart, which comes with just 16 laps to go. Blaze, having led every lap thus far, is going to have to hold off Quick on the restart for the 5th time tonight, and once again he does very well under the pressure, putting the power down and getting away. Timothy having to fall back in line behind the 71 as Blaze clears him, leaving Quick to deal with the lap truck now. Michael McKinley's making another move to the inside of Riley Durbin for the 3rd spot as Blaze gets away with the lead. Quick still trying to fight the 61, but it looks like Timothy's actually going to come back with the move on Blaze and try to get one of his 2 laps back, interfering with the battle for the lead. I'm sure that Blaze does not appreciate that whatsoever. I'm sure none of the leaders appreciate that, as Timothy doesn't stand anything to gain and Blaze stands an awful lot to lose. Timothy's still trying to work the inside of the 71 truck, but Blaze has been keeping ahead of Quick. You see right behind them that Michael McKinley has now cleared Riley Durbin for the 3rd spot, as Blaze falls back in line behind the 61, retaining the lead of the race once more. But no longer are Blaze and Quick the only 2 drivers in this race for the win. As I just mentioned, McKinley has cleared Durbin for the 3rd spot, and here comes Kevin Thompson up the inside now, trying to get by them both. Thompson hasn't been in the top 5 all night, but he's suddenly battling for 3rd, and here comes Darrell Quick to the inside of Hunter Blaze with the move for the lead. Trying the 71 truck again, the 82 made a little bit of contact with the 71 in turn 3 the lap before, but is going to move to his inside off the corner and make the run for the lead there. Pulling up alongside the 71, Blaze trying hard to fight off the 82 using the high line once again, but this time it's not going to work. Quick takes over the lead of the race and moves himself into the top spot for the 1st time tonight. McKinley trying to follow him through into 2nd place, as Blaze desperately trying to hang on for a chance to win his 1st career race. McKinley's not going to let that happen though if he can help it, and the 99M moves into the 2nd spot now. Your first 2 drivers in the running order are now your 2 drivers who have won the most 2 recent events here, and McKinley could have a championship on the line if Quick falls far enough back. If McKinley manages to win and Quick finishes in 4th, the 99M will be your champion, but Zach Churchill wants to join this fight. He's working his way back towards the front, getting around Kevin Thompson and moving himself into the 4th position as Durbin continues to fall back. Churchill now going to the inside and trying to take the 3rd spot from Blaze. After leading nearly every lap of the race, the 71 truck is slowly watching his chances at victory fade away, and they all crash in turn 1! Blaze, Churchill, and Thompson all go into the outside wall after contact between the 90 and the 84. 3 of your top drivers of the race, including the dominant driver of the day, Hunter Blaze, are all out of contention for the win. Thompson turned down into Churchill on corner entry and turned him up the track in what was a rather reckless maneuver from the 90, and there was absolutely nothing that Blaze could have done about that. He got wiped out by the 84 without any warning, and this has got to be utterly heartbreaking for the Gravity Racing Incorporated team. After a dominant run, one that looked as if it might end in Blaze's 1st victory in the AST Voltson Super Trucks, he is now way behind the leaders and with essentially no time to catch back up. This caution is going to cause the race to restart with just 2 laps to go. Darrell Quick leads over Michael McKinley and Riley Durbin. If McKinley can score the victory and Quick falls back to 4th, the championship will go to the 99M. Otherwise, it looks as if Quick will win the title, assuming that nothing disastrous happens to either driver. The pace truck pulls off into the pits. The entire season has come down to this one final restart. Who's going to win the race, and who's going to win the title? The green flag comes out, and Quick has gotten a fantastic start over Michael McKinley, who was caught sleeping on that restart. The 82 opens up multiple car lengths through the first corners, but McKinley, now trying to play catch-up, only has one more lap to do so, getting a good runs through turns 3 and 4 and trying to run down the 82 as they take the white flag and begin the final lap of the season. McKinley giving it everything he can, but it doesn't look like he's close enough. Rounding the final corner, Darrell Quick is going to make history. He's going to take the checkered flag and win the Voltson Marne 100, and in doing so, he claims his 3rd consecutive championship. A fantastic race comes right down to the wire and ends with another championship for the 82 team. They really had to work to earn this one. Congratulations to Darrell Quick on the 5th victory of his career. He now ties McKinley for the most race wins in this series. McKinley comes up short once again, somehow managing to go without a single victory all year long, but it was still a very good year for the 99M. Riley Durbin earns the final spot on the podium after having been gifted the 3rd place back following the lap 93 caution. It was a fantastic race for the entire number 3 team. Ronald Way finishes in 4th after what was not a very clean race for the 69 truck. I would expect a penalty to come his way after all the carnage that he caused. John Bennett, after a top 5 run of his own, comes home with a 5th place finish, and Brian Kelly ends the night in 6th after not running in the top half of the field for most of the night. He's proving to us yet again how he is one of the best drivers at working his way through traffic, and especially when it matters the most. Jenny Jackson, the Galesburg winner, finishes in 7th. Camden Rhodes comes home 8th after an early crash in the night, so good recovery for Rhodes. Nick Moss finishes in 9th, and Alex DeFranco, after crashing early on in the race himself, earns Midwest Motors a top 10 to close out their season. Once more, we congratulate Darrell Quick and his cell phone team, Two Quick Motorsports, on winning the championship for the 3rd year in a row in what is only the 3rd year of the AST Voltson Super Trucks. The 82 truck has not been guaranteed the championship entering the finale of any of the 3 seasons thus far, but Quick has risen to the occasion each time and has rightfully earned his 3rd championship trophy. After a season which saw 2 more wins, a total of 6 top 5s and an equal number of top 10s, 1 more pole position and an average finishing position of 9.5, the 82 team finds themselves on top yet again. The 44-year-old short track veteran proving that he is still one of the best drivers around. Brian Kelly is your Rookie of the Year after an outstanding season that sees him ranked 2nd in the championship despite not winning a race. In fact, he only scored 2 top 5s, but his 7 top 10s are tied with Michael McKinley for the most of any driver, and Kelly is also the only driver in the field to have completed every lap of the season, that in spite of a very violent crash at Nelson Ledges. Michael McKinley ranked 3rd one season after he finished 2nd, and yet again he comes up just short of the championship, but still a fantastic season for the McKinley racing team despite not winning a race either. John Bennett, who won in his first start at MIS to start off the year, ends the season an impressive 4th, proving that he still has what it takes to be competitive in the short track ranks. Camden Rhodes, the 2nd rookie in the standings, finishes in 5th and is the highest finishing Operation JM car. After what was a great season for him as well, he of course scored his first victory at DuQuoin. Wilson Timothy, Kelly's teammate, puts both of the Binford Racing Team trucks in the top 10 with a 6th place result after getting his first win at Winston Speedway. Hunter Blaze, after the huge disappointment that was tonight's race, still manages to bring home a very good 7th place rank in the point standings, beating Kevin Thompson by just 4 points. Thompson would have been 5th, but a 25-point penalty applied to the 90 truck after tonight's race relegated him all the way down to 8th, but this is still by far Thompson's best season of his career. Amberly Weiss finishes in 9th after a very solid season of her own. She has yet to win a race herself, but has proven that she is capable of doing so. She finished 2nd at Galesburg. And Nick Moss, perhaps the most anonymous driver of the season, brings home a top 10 result in the championship after scoring several good runs. He never really contended for any wins, but quietly earned himself a number of top 10s throughout the year. Moss also received a penalty after tonight's race for wrecking Camden Rhodes early on in the going. However, it did not affect his rank in the championship. Jeffer Jackson is the first of the 2 homegrown racers trucks in the standings, so I'm sure that he will be bragging about that to his sister plenty over the offseason. Danny Vigo ranks 12th in the standings after finishing 3rd last year as a rookie. Aside from a couple of good runs at Winston and DuQuoin, this has been a season that I'm sure that Beagle would largely like to forget, and of course we are all wishing him the best after that frightening accident on the 12th lap of the second heat of tonight's race. Jenny Jackson, ranked 13th, the lower of the two homegrown racers' trucks despite having won a race, becoming the first female driver to win in this series at Galesburg. Danella Jacobson ranks one spot better than last year with a 14th place result. This was a significantly improved season for Jacobson, however, and it's unfortunate that it isn't quite reflected in her championship result. John White ranks 15th after what was a miserable season by his standards. The past two seasons he's been 4th and 6th, but this year he didn't really contend for any wins, and of course failed to qualify for tonight's race. Hopefully the 06 team will be able to return to form next season. Alex DeFranco in 16th is the first of the two Midwest Motors trucks in the standings. It was a very poor rookie season for both of its drivers. Nothing seemed to go right for the 95 or the 94 all season long, but DeFranco did bring the team its two high points of the year, the 10th place finish tonight and his top 5 finish at Flat Rock. Brianna Prinzhorn, speaking of teams that didn't perform well this year, is the first of the two Lake Erie Motorsports trucks in 17th, with her teammate Zach Churchill right behind her in 18th. The 84 actually has the 5th best average finish in the series among the full-time drivers, but after failing to qualify for 3 races, Churchill was only able to attain 18th in the standings. Chase Eberhard, who only started 5 races, is 19th after winning at Terre Haute, and Jack Clark, who won at Toledo and also started 5 races, is ranked 20th. Adam Ramirez also started 5 races and he's ranked 21st, and right behind Ramirez is the final full-time driver in the standings, Juan Cortez, who's ranked 22nd. And with that, we conclude our coverage of the 2016 season of the American Short Trackers Voltson Super Trucks. From everyone here at Enrichment TV2, it has been a pleasure to bring you the action all season long. We certainly hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again next year at Michigan International Speedway on Memorial Day weekend. So long, everyone.